Here we go. You've finished cleaning your CSV file in R, and now you're ready to do something with it in processing. I'm going to provide you with a link to this sketch called Working with Data Frames. The first thing you need to do is unzip it. And you can use processing to open it. I'm going to go ahead and open up the PDE. And that automatically, at least on my machine, opens up the whole sketch. All right. So this provides you with a starting point for working with your data frame. When we were working with the weather data, we had written code that worked specifically with the weather data. We don't have, now we have 42 people with 42 different sets of data. So we have the sketch and we have a data frame class. All right. The first thing I want to do is import the data frame. And I'm going to create a variable to hold my data frame. I'm going to make that global. And I have to remember in my setup to say it's a global variable. And then here is where I say I want to create a new data frame. Groovy. I do a little bit of processing stuff. And that, for my setup, you may do some other processing things for your visualization. Right? This, in previous, when you were working with the weather data, this was load source, right? It looked a little different. So you're going to say data frame. And we need to put the name of your CSV file here. I'm going to take someone else's CSV file. I'm going to drag it into my processing sketch folder. So that way the sketch and the file are in the same place. And that was called bcityandIncome.csv. And I may, so that you can see what's in it, it's going to come open in Excel. You can see I've got a county, the obesity, the radius, and the income. And those are the columns that are in this CSV file. Now in my drawing function, again, I'd say my data frame, because right here I say df is equal to this data frame. I'd say it's global. I do a clear. And I'm able to, in my loop, get the next row of the data frame. And so every time I call that, the first time I call it, I get this row. And the next time I call it, I get the next row, and then the next row, and then the next row, and so on. All right, so every time I call it, I'm getting a new row from the data frame. It is possible to get the max value for a column. So when I do this, I get the max value of the income column. It is possible to get the minimum value. And this, because df is an object, I'm saying in this data frame, get the next row. In this data frame, get the maximum of this column. You may want the max and the min. I don't know. If I want to extract so once I have, so these actually can go up above, right? Those, so I want to see these as connected. So when I say to get the next row, I am then able to get a value out of that row. I say, given a row, get the income value. So I say, from the data frame, get out of the current row that I just fetched, get me the income. And I'm going to store that in a variable called a value. Okay. I can also, if I want, do the same thing, but I can get it scaled so that instead of getting 48,065, I'm going to get a different value. Oh, oh, mercy. How would I do this in Excel? What was the error? Oh, that's not the entire, there's more data. It was complaining that I was only doing some of the cells and not all of them. All right, so the point being is that this shows the scaled value, and this must be the minimum income in this data set. So it comes out as 0. All of that is to say is DF scaled, instead of giving you the income value, will give you the scaled value, which is in the range 0 to 1. All right, so your typical usage is going to look like, in your draw function, I'm going now back to the start. You'll import the DataFrame library. You're going to declare a DataFrame variable to be global, so df equals none. You will initialize that as a DataFrame, and you have to remember to say the name of your CSV file. And you must put that CSV file in the folder with the project. Okay. In your drawing function, you will you may want to get the minimum and maximum values of a column. You will almost certainly need to, somewhere at the top of the drawing function, get the next row, and that will over and over get one row after another. You can then extract, say, the income value or some other column from a row, and that will give you the individual value. And then you can also choose, instead of getting the value itself, getting the scaled value. And finally, then you can use those variables in your drawing just like you would normally. So if all goes well, I should be able to run it, and my visualization does absolutely nothing interesting. Cool. Hopefully that video is somewhat helpful. I know it went quickly, but I wanted to be able to post this before too much time passed. Links will be in the email.